everyone. Welcome to Learning Academy Foundation. Today I would like to show you about the program for chemistry for grades 7 and 8. The first section will be about the particle model of matter, where the students will see that particles can be atoms, molecules, or ions. And particles behave differently in solids, liquids, and gases. The particle model explains the differences between solids, liquids, and gases. We will see the solids, liquids, and gases change state when they are heated or cooled. Then processes such as evaporation and boiling change the state of substances. We will also understand that pressure in gases is caused by particles colliding with the walls of the container. They will learn about water. The next section will be atoms, elements, and compounds, where the students will learn about elements, compounds, and mixtures. They will see that atoms are the building blocks of everything, and atoms can form strong bonds with each other, making molecules. They will also see that letters from the alphabet are used to represent chemical elements, and an element's chemical symbol is a single capital letter or a capital letter followed by a lowercase letter. They will also find out about the structure and properties of the element carbon. There will be a visual explanation of chemical elements, of oxygen, of nitrogen, and of hydrogen. It will be about pure and impure substances, where the students will see that either evaporation or crystallization can be used to separate a solid solute from a solution. They will say that distillation is a separation technique that is used to remove a solvent from a mixture and keep it rather than it mixing with the air and being lost. They will also see that chromatography can be used to separate a mixture of soluble substances, like the pigments in ink. And that most materials that we use are mixtures, and just a few are pure elements or pure compounds. In chemistry, a pure substance is a single substance made of only one type of particle. The students will also see that a solution is made when a solute dissolves into a solvent if it is soluble. If it cannot dissolve, it is described as insoluble. That diffusion is the movement of a substance from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration. And finally, the filtration is used to separate an insoluble solid from a pure liquid or a solution. In the next section, next section will be about chemical reactions, where the students will see that chemical reactions make new chemicals, and atoms are arranged during a chemical reaction, but the number of atoms does not change. In an oxidation reaction, a substance gains oxygen atoms. A catalyst is a substance that speeds up a chemical reaction. Catalysts are useful because they do not get used up during a reaction. Exothermic reactions release energy into the surroundings, so they usually feel hot. Endothermic reactions are the opposite. Also, the students will see that chemical reactions can be represented by word equations and can be summarized using symbol equations. Students will also see that during chemical reactions or a change of state, no atoms are created or destroyed. So the total mass of chemicals before and after a reaction remains the same. Combustion is another name for burning. In a combustion reaction, fuel is burned and reacts with oxygen to release energy. Thermal means heat. Decomposing is the process of breaking down. So thermal decomposition is a chemical reaction that happens when a compound breaks down when heated. In a displacement reaction, a more reactive element replaces a less reactive element from its compound. And the students will also see a simple step-by-step visual guide showing them how to make carbon dioxide and how to bake bread. In the next section will be about acids and alkalis, where the students will see that the pH scale shows how acidic a substance is. They will learn what pH is and how it is measured. Acids and alkalis react together in neutralization reactions, which produce salts and water. The salt name can be found from the name of the acid and alkali. The acids react with some metals to produce salts and hydrogen. The salt name can be found from the name of the salt and the metal. Acids, bases, and alkali are found in the laboratory and at home. So acids and bases can neutralize each other. So a base that can dissolve in water is also called an alkali. The next section will be about periodic table, where the students will see that all substances have properties. They describe how a subject looks and behaves. Some substances have both physical and chemical properties. The periodic table was developed by grouping elements with similar properties. This, together with a later arrangement by atomic weight, led to a repeating pattern of properties. And the periodic table is a way of organizing the elements, which is used by scientists to group elements with similar properties. So it has a unique arrangement of rows and columns. And also that metals make up most of the non-elements, with non-metals making up the rest. They tend to have opposite properties, so metals are mostly solids, non-metals liquids or gases. Metals and non-metals can be heated in oxygen to make compounds called oxides. In the next section will be about the reactivity series, where the students will see that metals react differently. So some are very reactive and others are unreactive. Metals mostly occur as compounds in rocks and minerals and must be extracted before they can be used. A metal higher up in the reactivity series will displace a less reactive metal from its compound. These displacement reactions can be predicted from the reactivity series. The next section will be about materials, where the students will say ceramics are made from soft substances, which when heated become hard and brittle. Polymers can be natural or synthetic. Synthetic polymers are known as plastics. And composite materials are made from two or more different types of material by a chemical process. The next section will be about the Earth and the atmosphere, where the students will see that many human activities release pollution gases into the atmosphere, such as farming animals for food, burning fossil fuels, and deforestation. Human activities use resources from the Earth, so many of these resources are finite. They will eventually run out. The air in the atmosphere is a mixture of gases. Most of the atmosphere is nitrogen. 80%, with around 20% oxygen and other trace gases. They will also see a visual explanation of methane. Students will find out all about carbon dioxide. They will see that the Earth has a layer structure made up of the crust, the mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. So these layers each have different structures and properties. There are three types of rock on Earth: igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary. They are formed in different ways and have different properties. Rocks are constantly due to different processes. This means rock types are changing between the three different rock types over millions of years, and this is called the rock cycle. The last section will be about working scientifically, where the students will see how can they work safely in the lab, and what are the various steps needed in order to do so, and how to spot risks, hazards, and understand hazard symbols. They will find out why variables are important in an experiment, including control variables, independent and dependent variables. They will see that an hypothesis is an idea about how something works that can be tested during using experiments. So a prediction says what will happen if the hypothesis is correct. And they will also see that developing a method is an important part of planning and investigation, and it is important to evaluate the validity of each step leading up to the conclusion. Students will see that scientific equations and formulae are used to work things out in science. Using standard units means scientists around the world can work together better. They will use diagrams to show how scientific apparatus is set up and how to draw them in two dimensions. Common practical techniques that use apparatus include filtration, evaporation, and distillation. And they will say that calculating averages from data is usually more accurate than using one result. So using a table ensures that data is recorded in an organized way. The students, we see that types of data include continuous, discrete, and categoric. Data can be presented in a number of ways, which depends on the type of variables and the uses. Different types of graphs and charts are used to show results. They need to be drawn and labeled correctly. Scientists use pattern in the data to reach a conclusion. A conclusion sums up what has been found out during an investigation. It should be clearly structured and explained using scientific knowledge. And finally, scientific studies can be biased. It's important to recognize when this is the case. Scientists review each other's conclusions from new research. That's all about chemistry for grades 7 and 8. You can find my contacts down below in the slides and in the description. If you want to have private lessons on site or online, you can contact me. Thank you so much for your attention, students and parents. See you next. Bye.